everyone. It is Monday night. It is time for Revolutionary Change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager. How are you holding up, Jen?
I'm good. I had snow outside this morning, which was kind of cool.
Jen, something looks different about your background.
Yeah, I'm in the new house. I'm in my new house. It's my little farmhouse.
Well, it looks like you're in like a hallway or something.
It's not a hallway. It used to be, I think this is what was their back porch, and then they had enclosed it. And this is where I have my office, and then back there is the dining room.
I want to say something to the audience real quick, and I'm looking at you, FL, whoever you are. I want to be very clear about this. I do a solo show on Saturday nights. If you only want to see me, then stick to Saturday nights. Do not come here and trash Jen when we have our Monday and Thursday show. Okay? We clear? Thank you. As you were saying.
Why is it so bad? Why do you hate me so much, Florisac, or whatever your name is? And are you an incel? Like, do you hate women?
Well, you also have to remember there are people who hate you simply because, being from a Zionist Jewish background. So naturally, it's almost like you can't be forgiven. It's like the sins cannot be washed clean. There is always this, the fear that you'll eventually turn. You'll eventually be this evil person that's underneath it all.
No, actually, but they're not there right now. I actually can see I have cows. Well, I don't have cows, but I have them as a view from this window. Yeah, the neighbor's cows. And there's these two adults and this baby that are very curious about me and Rachel. And every time like we're outside, they're coming up to the fence. So it's really cool. I like being able to see them. So I appreciate that. Also, I am a Florida girl, but we're not so Southern Florida people. My family is all from Brooklyn and Philadelphia. And so, as much as I'm from South Florida, I'm not a Southern person, really.
Well, they say the more south you go, the more north you get.
Yeah, but now where I am is actually the South. And it's funny because it's the most north that I've ever really just like consistently been, in years.
Well,
that's great.
There's many different parts of the South. Like you're in the rural South. You're not in the antebellum South where you are.
I'm close. My closest city is Chattanooga because I'm really close to the Tennessee line.
Right.
But where I am, it's near Chickamauga Battlefield, and which I am not a Civil War history buff person, but there is huge amounts of history here. The Battle of Chickamauga, and there's you would really like it a lot because there's all these hiking trails and stuff through it. So you could see all the history and stuff. And it's really cool. But yes, I do see, there's not a lot of days where I don't see a Confederate flag somewhere. And I'm good with it. I am okay. It bothers me a lot less than the neo-lib Zios do. So
the one thing we've learned is that if you believe
I'm not in Alabama. Sorry. I'm in Northwest Georgia.
So if you believe in the freedom of speech, you have to accept speech in all contexts, unless, of course, the person's threatening your life. If a person wants to call you a derogatory word, whatever that may be, that's part of the trade-off. That's part of having First Amendment rights. That's the ability to say what needs to be said. And in terms of what we're facing right now, we're facing a situation where being able to say what you want to say is going to become a lot more difficult depending on how autocratic and authoritarian this country wants to be, because we are living through a revolutionary period. Like this is happening, no matter how much the establishment doesn't want it to happen. And as we said, whether you believe it or not, the blessing in disguise is having Trump and his cohorts in the White House, because they make it just so damn obvious what's going on. If you had somebody like Kamala Harris in the White House, she would just be a figurehead. She wouldn't say nothing. She didn't see nothing, didn't do nothing. Would just be going along to get along. And all the
At this point with Trump, I kind of wish he would just not say or do anything. I mean, you know, and again, it's one of those be careful what you wish for, because I am appreciating how fast it is all unraveling. Because it's happening. We're simultaneously alienating the EU and the Gulf Arab states, and we're in it. It's kind of glorious in a way.
Being as that we're in this very unique moment right now, and every minute something changes in the media sphere, so we have to be ready at all times for what might pop up or not. But here's the deal. I am convinced at this point that something definitely happened to Netanyahu. Don't know if he's officially gone or not, but the fact that these are the types of videos that he's making right now, which are not out in public, and he apparently, Jen, has missed 7 consecutive meetings with his generals.
But here's my question. How are we knowing the information, right? Because there's so many, the sources are not clear, you know? And again, I'm hopeful, but it would be nice. I just don't think that the world's justice is going to work like that. I would say that he would be in exile and living the high life in Argentina before he would be, you know, gone.
Too easy to spot, unless he's going to completely rearrange his face. And according to the Israelis, he hasn't changed his face.
The brave people of Iran, I wish you, as I do every year, a happy holiday season, beginning with the Festival of Lights. It signifies the age-old belief of the Iranian people that light will triumph over darkness, that good will triumph over evil. This year, this holiday has special meaning. Celebrate it with your friends, your family, your loved ones. I take this opportunity to wish you a happy Nowruz, a year of freedom, a new beginning of hope to all of you, my dear friends. Nowruz Piruz, Payonde Iran.
I don't know what this is irrelevant, because we don't know if this is real or not.
No, we don't. And that's the thing. He hasn't been seen doing anything that would give the indication that he is alive. Now, you, on the other hand, believe that if there's another reason why Iran is so far ahead of us right now in terms of not just military action, but overall morale within a given country, you're saying that you told me a little bit earlier that the new Ayatollah of Iran is basically out in the streets in public in Tehran.
Oh yeah. We're so out of our element. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. These guys are, I wish we had this still photo of him, of the,
that's tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
But wherever
so
they are,
there's a picture of the Iranian president and, the minister of their secretary of state position, I forget. And they're walking down the street of Tehran in the middle of all this going on, no security around them. And I'm just like, that's some serious Sequoia energy there. You know what I mean? Like, that is some serious, I mean, come on. When you're talking about we're in the middle of a war, these guys are so friggin' confident. They're walking around town. Yeah, that's how I know we lose. That's how I know we lose. Because if you're swinging a Sequoia like that, a lot of people are going to get dead. That's what I know. Because that is, that's some energy right there.
Again, like you said, have the people behind, the people that are behind them believe in them wholeheartedly, as they should. This is another clip that they're claiming is of Netanyahu. We're not going. Everybody has seen the one with him in the coffee shop, apparently, and even that one is being highly debated. Here's another one.
שיר ושיר. איזה יופי.
תודה רבה.
תודה,
איזה
תודה לכם.
אלופים, תודה רבה.
תודה לכם. טוב, קצת לספוג שמש. שלום לכם. של מי הכלב? שלך. איזה סוג זה?
כנענית, ישראלית.
כנענית ישראלית, כל הכבוד. טוב, גם לא מגיע קצת.
ישראלית אמיתית.
יאללה, לכולכם מגיע. יצאתם להתעורר קצת?
כן.
יפה מאוד. תראה, ירושלים, יש משהו יותר יפה מזה?
But not for long.
But a lot of these, we will never know when these things were made or if they're AI. It looks weird.
It does.
Like the profile does not look right. And the size of his head, if you put it back to the image where he was standing, where she was, where they were standing facing each other, and you look at the size of him compared to her, it's disproportionate. And I don't mean just because he's bigger than her. Like it looks freaky.
Well, if you look closely at the way he's moving and the way the pixelation, it doesn't look real. Watch again.
קצת לספוג שמש. שלום לכם.
Something off.
של מי הכלב? שלך.
But no, wait until, look, stop. Look at that right there. That profile looks like a mask. That doesn't look real. Now, I don't know if, and look at his size of his head compared to her head. It's not a matter of, oh, he's bigger. It's so it's out of whack. So he's supposed to be facing and speaking with this woman, but yet he is so much more in the foreground than she is in this picture. You see? It isn't just that he's bigger, or it's a person wearing a giant oversized head.
Well, he does have a big head.
Yes, but do you see what I mean? That's not real.
נהדר.
הוא השתגע מזה.
תשמע, אני זוכר את זה.
אתה זוכר? קוראים לו גיא.
I'm telling you, look at the guy on the left and look at him.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like, it almost looks like a rubber face.
Well, here's what it is. They superimposed his face on whoever this guy was talking to in this video. So it is a real video. It's probably a real video of something that happened. It just wasn't Netanyahu.
By the way, if anybody, this is the difference between somebody like Netanyahu and somebody like Gavir. See, Gavir has just disappeared. Like people haven't seen him, they haven't heard from him. People haven't seen or heard from Netanyahu's son, which I think is probably the more interesting part of all of this. The fact that he's been removed. Who's to say that he wasn't assassinated in Miami? I mean, to me.
I mean, who's to say that maybe cooler heads in our empire decided that they were done with Milikowski and his bullshit?
Well, that's what I said on Saturday.
And maybe this was their way out. I don't know. Although I don't think the problem is that I have absolutely zero faith, respect, or anything for anybody that's on our leadership team, if you will. And so I can't give them that credit because I don't think that, because I just don't, and I also don't think they're that smart, unfortunately.
No, I don't, but I do think that there has to be at least a few people who will say, if we don't get out of this now, we're never going to get out of it. And the only way we get out of it is if we get rid of him. Because if we get rid of him, eventually they're going to be a rudderless ship and they're not going to be able to do anything anymore.
Well, yeah, well, they're already gone. Like my feeling is that we are currently, and by we, I mean the West in general, but our country in particular, we're right now living in a Truman Show in terms of the control of what we're able to see and understand as to what's going on right now. And even the people who have the best contacts are not being able to get information. It's very, very difficult. So we really don't know. But my belief is that this is the end of the Zealot state. This is the end of the Zealot.
זה היה במטוס, אוקיי, תמסרו לו דש. איזה יופי. שלום. שלום לכם. גם אתם יצאתם קצת להתעורר?
קצת להתעורר. יצאתי קצת להתערבל. כמובן שיש מרחב מוגן ובמקום כזה.
מרחב מוגן, איפה את יודעת?
ממש שמה, בטח. א' ב' זה לבדוק.
כמה צעדים מכאן, נכון?
כמה צעדים.
יופי, זה הכי חשוב.
צה"ל ינצח ואנחנו נשמור על עצמנו.
מצוין, זה בדיוק.
חד משמעית.
את אמרת הכי טוב. הציבור מבין את העניין. אבל הנה הפרט הכי חשוב, איך קוראים לך?
Can we
מה
not watch
ששיר
this?
אמר, ואת?
I don't want to watch this. I really
יש
don't.
לנו שני שירים כאן.
There's
מה
no point
ששיר...
in watching this. It's just gross, and I don't want to watch him.
Yeah, he is pretty hideous.
It's just like we don't need to watch this.
One can only hope that he has been dealt with, and if he has, then I can only hope. Again, like I said, I have nothing to cheer about. Yeah, it'll be nice that he's gone, but there is a reckoning coming for all of these people. All of them. They all will have a reckoning that will be bestowed upon them for what they've done to humanity. They are not getting off.
I think they're going to cease to exist. I believe, well, here's the problem, and we're not getting this information either. So what we heard is we lost 6 service members in an air crash over Iraq, right? In a refueling plane crash. That's bullshit. They were shot out of the sky. Also, another 5 or even 6, I believe, of our refueling jets have been completely destroyed. We have our bases are non-functioning over there. All the people have been evacuated and are living amongst the civilian populations, which is why certain civilian locations are getting bombed by Iran, because they know that that's where our military people are being, are hiding out. But we're not going to have a presence over there anymore. At the end of the day, and Iran is calling the shots now. Those guys are swinging their sack around, and there's nothing anybody's going to do about it, because they're holding up the entire world's economy, and they're making the entire world suffer, just like they've been suffering under our sanctions. And I am here for it. I friggin' love it. And I do. And, good luck to Trump thinks he's going to get the Strait of Hormuz open. Good luck with that.
Did Netanyahu, because again, Bibi, for all of his flaws, he's not a dumb guy, but did he miscalculate this? Like, did he really miscalculate the backing of the U.S. empire?
No, I don't think he cares either way. Just like I don't think oligarchs care about U.S. empire either. It doesn't really matter to him. He's just about covering his own ass and staying around as long as he can. He's a complete psychotic narcissist, which is why I don't think that he is necessarily dead. But, yeah, it's all about that. And meanwhile, he still hasn't had to face the consequences for the corruption trial that he was being prosecuted for. So, that's the whole story. But at the end of the day, he is their version of a Trump. He's just smarter in the sense that he just cares about him and his. He doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't have an ideology. He is not religious. He is certainly not a practicing Jew. And so he's just about him. So in a lot of ways, he is like Trump. But the scary part is he's smarter. So, yeah.
Speaking of death, many U.S. soldiers oppose war on Iran, conscientious objector group says. Group says more military units have just been activated for deployment than the public knows about. Oh, you think? Could you even begin to imagine how many? What is that?
Schrodinger's Netanyahu. That's great. Do you not know Schrodinger's cat, Peter?
No.
Schrodinger's cat is I don't know what it's sort of like Occam's razor, right? It's one of these things that's a philosophical point. And Schrodinger his whole point was there was a cat in the bag, and you don't know whether the cat is dead or alive, right? You don't know whether the cat's dead or alive. That's the Schrodinger cat. You don't know what it is. So he's saying Schrodinger's Netanyahu. And he heard, yeah, exactly. Here, it's the cat. I know. Right.
Well, the cat's out of the bag, I guess.
Yeah.
A nonprofit that assists conscientious objectors said its phone has been ringing off the hook with U.S. service members who object to serving in the U.S.-Israel war on Iran. The group's executive director said in a post on X that there was fierce opposition to the war on Iran and that the mobilization of U.S. troops has been compared with opposition to the '03 U.S. invasion of Iraq. Phone has been ringing off the hook. A lot more units have just been activated for deployment that the public knows about. Center on Conscience and War, Executive Director Mike Prejean wrote on X. Now, for those who don't know, Mike Prejean is the significant other of Abby Martin. This is also somebody who has served multiple tours in Iraq. So he knows what it's like being on the front lines and being involved in this. And so the fact that he's made this his life's work is not surprising. Middle East Eye reported last week that the U.S. was considering sending special forces into Iran. i.e., they have sent special forces into Iran. But there has also been speculation of a wider mobilization. The Army canceled a major training exercise for some soldiers from the U.S. 82nd Airborne Division, which specializes in ground combat. Meanwhile, in an interview with Fox News, White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt refused to rule out the U.S. bringing back the draft. Oh, please bring back the draft. The last time the U.S. conscripted men to fight was December of 1972 during the waning months of the Vietnam War.
You try that, Caroline.
Please try it.
Try that, Caroline.
I dare
Go
you.
for that. You see how that works for you.
Would you take over, please?
Disgust at U.S. massacre of the girls' school. Yeah. The Center on Conscience and War is a nonprofit group that supports conscientious objectors, a title given to one who opposes serving in the armed forces or bearing arms based on moral or religious principles. In the U.S., there is a deep tradition of conscientious objectors to foreign wars, particularly among Christian-rooted communities like the Quakers and the Amish. And this is me speaking, side note, but those people usually don't enlist in the military. So this is why I've always found it interesting that people that it's like if they don't enlist in the military because they don't believe in it in general, but the idea that there's conscientious objectors that are enlisted and within the military is what we're talking about, though. So the center said it was deluged with calls amid concerns the Trump administration was preparing to deploy troops to Iran, and that opposition was much more widespread than had been reported. Got a call yesterday from a service member facing deployment who is not only filing for conscientious objector now, but reports widespread opposition to the war in Iran within their unit, and will be sharing our number with everyone, the center said in another post on X. Good. Let this tear the military apart. Let them have a split right down the middle and see how that gets.
And you have to believe that if an article like this is coming out, that it is so much worse than what the public is actually being informed on. Like internally, it's probably a nightmare in terms of trying to keep it all together, to keep the morale up.
And I think, this is the problem for people in leadership positions. Predominantly what we're seeing are baby boomer generation age of the people. They keep running the same playbook from the 80s and 90s, and it's not working anymore, largely due to social media, but not just that. And they keep running the same playbook, and it is just not going to work. So when the big false flag comes, it's not going to work. It's not working anymore. So that's what we're watching. It's the same playbook. It's just we're seeing it now.
In particular, they conveyed disgust at the U.S. massacre of the girls' school, as well as the attack on the Iranian frigate in international waters. At least 165 people, mostly young girls, were killed by an apparent U.S.-Israeli attack on a girls' school in southern Iran's Minab. Middle East Eye reported that the school was hit with 2 strikes, with the second missile killing sheltering survivors and first responders. Reminds me of the time that Israel blew up the hospital when the hospital workers were there. Apparently they did the double tap.
Which, and again, this is one of those things where I can say that technically the double tap is a war crime, but I'm someone who believes that war is a crime. So, but it is, in fact, the double tap is a war crime. Again, nobody cares about these things. We have no, like, why even have rules and laws? Honestly, this is, I'm telling you, the anarchists, I think that they have always just been riding this horse in the direction it's going.
Do you know what the amazing thing is?
What?
Iran, for the most part, has been following the rules of engagement, and they're still killing us, while we, and particularly Israel, do not follow rules of engagement, and they're still getting destroyed.
Right.
So there is a certain amount of irony that comes with that.
Yeah.
Following Middle East Eye's report, subsequent reporting, including by the New York Times of all places, added to evidence that the U.S. was responsible for bombing the school. A video released by Iran's semi-official Mar news agency showed a Tomahawk cruise missile striking a naval base beside the school. The Trump administration has demurred when asked about the strike, despite the mounting evidence. Trump on Saturday blamed Iran for attacking the school. Can you believe that? They totally.
Well, but I don't believe any of this. And we know that we purposefully hit the school, and we even know why we purposefully hit the school. So for people who don't know, the girls' school, the initial school that was hit in the very beginning, honestly, who knows how many schools we've hit between then and now? It's been 13 days. I mean, that could be, a lot of schools, but the first school was a very high, I don't know if you would say high priced, because they don't necessarily, I don't know what their system is, but a very highly regarded, very elite in terms of academics, private school that we knew that many of the Iranian guards' daughters were in that school, because it's a very sort of like the friendship school or friendly school in DC, where we know a lot of the Congress people and people who live in the area, a lot of the wealthy people, that's where their kids go. This was that school. So we did it on purpose. And to suggest that the Iranians would bomb their own school, even accidentally, is absurd. See, nobody's believing that. Nobody believes that.
Iran has conducted pinpoint strikes on the U.S., bombing advanced radar stations, military bases, and even the CIA section of the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, along with critical energy infrastructure in the Gulf states. Now, as has been reported, the Gulf states that have been hit are states that specifically are backing what's going on, or are backing the West, if you will. And granted, a lot of that, I'm sure, is financial. And one of the countries that is backing Israel right now is Serbia. Serbia has been backing up Israel with more weapons. Now, granted, Israel has been paying a very hefty price to get their hands on those weapons. And of course, the argument from a country like Serbia would be, hey, if they're going to pay us, 10x what they're really worth, it is what it is. Now, of course, I don't agree with that, but you can understand that the demise of Israel is also coming at an accelerated pace, because once it's determined that their debt is unsalvageable, that they have just basically put themselves in a position where they're not worth investing in anymore, it's all going to collapse. And the other thing that you've pointed out, that we'll point out here again to our viewers, is that Kushner's out of the equation now. Kushner's not even in this thing anymore. Witkoff has been desperately trying to get a meeting with the Ayatollah, and they're refusing.
No, first of all, you know why? They don't take him seriously, because we shouldn't take him seriously. He is a real estate agent cosplaying as a diplomat. He's absurd. I want to just address this. Emmanuel Wood is a war crime, whether it was a rich girl school or just a random school. Absolutely. I was just pointing out that it was a school that was known to have a lot of the elite members of the Iranian Guards' daughters in it, so that it was very purposeful that school was sought out. I wasn't saying that's why it was a war crime.
No, but it is an example of why this is only going to get worse. And think about how many American soldiers are now dead, and we are not being told the truth about what's really going on.
Okay, another point, which I was watching, guys, you gotta, our favorite people are doing the rounds, they're working nonstop, whether you guys follow Scott Ritter or Colonel Wilkerson or, Larry Johnson. But one of the things that's happened is that they've apparently closed down the portion of Walter Reed from regular use people. So it was the maternity ward or whatever, and women were told, you're not going to be able to deliver here, don't come here, and they had some reason that was something to do with like whatever, another situation that they were dealing with. But what the situation is that they're dealing with is casualties that are coming in that are not being reported. And so they had to apparently, and none of this is reported. You can't even find, like, this is what's really freaky, is are we just going to eventually find out down the road when people report that their loved ones were dead, and then we just have to sort of count it by that and have like almost like a GoFundMe type of app that counts the people that are being dead because our government doesn't tell us. Mm-hmm. So apparently there's a shit ton of casualties that are not being reported. The hospital, I forget the name of the hospital or the base in Germany where they all start, but that's where everybody gets brought to before they are stable to come here and go to Walter Reed. That facility in Germany. And people like Larry, who have connections all around the world in these places, they know things are happening. And meanwhile, there's all these casualties that have been flying in and taking, and we're not hearing about it.
And if you want to see just how much Western empire is collapsing, or how bad Western empire is collapsing, I don't want to give any credit to the Times of Israel because they are a rag for Mossad, the Hasbara, etc. However, gamblers trying to win a bet on Polymarket are vowing to kill me if I don't rewrite an Iran missile story. Bettors are using death threats to try to get the Times of Israel's military correspondent to change his report on a missile impact in central Israel.
The problem is you can't believe a thing that comes out of the Times of Israel. This is one of the least credible source. This is Hasbara.
It is Hasbara, but
so they're trying to make it look like this. They're trying to make it look like
the one thing that I will say that I do believe is credible here, that cannot be denied. Is there gambling on war through Polymarket? I have no doubt that there is. And is it a question of, let me see how much I can bet in terms of the death count? How many people are going to die? Heck, I mean, you can invest in oil futures right now that oil is naturally going to go up because of war. You are contributing to war and war crimes, are you not? If you invest in oil right now, to me, you are aiding and abetting death and destruction, genocide. But you get to make a few bucks along the way, am I right?
Yes. And Jay Burke is correct. Israel is prohibiting people from leaving. They've been doing that for a while. They shut that down a while ago. And of course, we're not hearing that either, but it is true.
And therein lies the rub. Polymarket is owned by Israel, or it's Israeli tech. Either way, it's an example of why it's falling. Now, we only have a limited amount of time with our special friend, who is always welcome, but it also goes to show that, Zainadeh is Iranian. And
she's a Persian princess. Look at her. She's like a Persian princess. Where is she?
She is one of our faves. And it would only be appropriate to talk about this issue and why Iran is so far ahead of us in so many respects right now. Zaina, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Hello. How are you guys?
Hi, thank you for coming on and talking with us. As soon as this started a couple of weeks ago, you were one of the first people that I wanted to have on. And although Rachel loves it when we get booked so far in advance, it makes it very difficult sometimes when things come up and there's certain people. But I wanted to touch base with you for sure. Because, and I don't know if this is, I feel like almost like I have to confess this in a way to you, like it's like a confession. I'm like pleased to watch what's happening in a lot of ways. Like I am pleased to watch Iran do what they're doing and take the stand that they're taking. I am. Obviously, I'm not pleased that people are getting hurt and dying that to no fault of their own, obviously. But yeah, every time that Iran, and I'm calling it big dick energy because that guy just walks around swinging it. Like when I see that, it pleases me to no end. So I need you to tell me that it's okay for me to feel pleased with this.
I have very mixed feelings myself. Like
Yeah.
I believe that Iran absolutely has a right to defend themselves. I believe that this is an illegal war, clearly. I'm very upset with what's happening to Tehran and other places. Shiraz, lots of places in the Fars region are being hit, and they're striking the oil reserves, you know. The regime, I'm not a fan of. They've
Right.
oppressed my people. Brutality I've heard about my entire life, and
Yeah.
I don't ignore that, and I won't, out of respect for my family and for people that have endured it, that I know have suffered under this. So with that, I have very mixed feelings. Now, as far as Israel in the US getting pushed
Mhm.
back against, I
Yes.
100% support that, and I do not support this war. And obviously, I do not support a lot of the rhetoric that's around everything regarding this that demonizes the Iranian people as a whole and talks about it's there's a lot of ignorance, of course, and
Really?
Islamophobia, even though I do believe that the religion is used there to oppress, like in so many other countries. We have Christian nationalists right here that do something similar. We have Zionists that utilize that umbrella to oppress people. It's not unique to Islam. So I have mixed feelings, but I'm not sad about them defending themselves against Israel at all,
Yeah.
regardless of how I feel about the regime.
I just think they're finally putting us in our place. And I think that the hubris is always our problem. It really is. It's a huge problem. I think that we have always underestimated people that we find beneath us. And that's this level of caucasity that I always talk about. And the Iranians are so ready for it. So let's take the politics in terms of the government out for a second, which I refuse to say it's a regime. We're the regime, but let's take that out of it for a second. It's a matter of we have been hurting them and going after them with sanctions and involving ourselves in their business for decades. And they've had it. And every time we supposedly negotiate, we kill their negotiators. Clearly, we are incapable of negotiating because we just don't. We, like I said, we negotiate like Bruce Willis in The Fifth Element, right? Like that's not. And, you know, it's like if we were watching this as a movie, we'd be saying, yes, please stand up for the rest of the world that has been dealing with these sanctions and dealing with this economic bullying, which is illegal. It's war crimes as well for years. And what they're going to end up doing economically is making the rest of the world feel how they've been feeling and say, see, this is what, and it's brilliant. And so I am here for that in a sense that it's really standing up to empire. And right now, Iran is the only thing really standing up to empire. And as
That's the thing,
like,
right? My people are the sacrificial lambs against this bulwark.
Yes. Well,
every time that I see us
Palestinians.
getting bombed, we're the sacrificial lambs in the world that are too cowardly to stand up against it themselves are cheering on as my people are slaughtered.
Yes.
So why don't we get to the streets and go up there and march against our own damn oligarchs? Where are the people in Qatar? Where are the people in Saudi? Yeah, they did too. And they showed up in the streets against their own government despite being mowed down by AK-47s. That's how brave the Iranian people are.
Yes.
So they are brave. And they do have reserve. And I do agree that sanctions this would be the fourth regime change if they do another one. This will be the fourth one. And we know that the Western powers don't have, most Iranians, I'm not going to speak for all of them, most Iranians understand the West doesn't have their best interest at heart. They've got two boots on their neck, two boots.
Yeah.
The one boot, though, that they're standing up against, the Western Empire, I am cheering that on. But it does feel like the people are almost being glorified to the point that it's like we have to be the sacrificial lambs for it. And even if Iran gets completely flattened, people are just glad to see someone stand up against the West. And as a person who has family there, it's very, very, it's such a hard thing to watch, because people are saying no ceasefire. They have to finish the job. Who's going to be their allies in this? Who's going to come in and help them do this? How much of there's already 2 million people displaced in Tehran. 2 million people. Because they blew up the refinery, there's people that are going to have black
lung disease and all that shit.
Black lung disease. Yeah. And And they called it the Iraq War syndrome when our soldiers, and it caused cancer for the rest of their lives. So there's people that the rest of their lives are already going to be impacted and that could, die from this within a matter of weeks or months, just from that alone. So I don't think we've quite seen the fallout of what it looks like. But like I said, I'm completely glad that there is a country standing up against the onslaught and the abuse of the West. I mean, right now we have cut everything. Cuba, the Cuban people are under duress because of the lunatic West. And there's one other thing I want to say, and then I'll shut up. But I'm working on a huge article right now about how they are trying to make Israel the heart of the military-industrial complex in the tech industry. So all these companies are starting to move their headquarters to Israel. There was a meeting 4 months before Operation Epic Fury, where they were discussing the fact that they were planning on striking Iran within a few months and how much money the heads of Palantir were there bragging about how much money they were going to make.
Yeah. Well,
and you know what? I do appreciate that in the short term, they're going to cause a lot of damage and destruction, and a lot of people are going to suffer. But that plan of turning Ziohel into some sort of like little hub, it's delusional. It's delusional. It's never going to happen. So it's very telling that they still think that that's a possibility. Would you rather, Peter? Maybe were we going to talk about the Cuba thing at all, or no?
We can.
Zaina just brought it up.
But I wanted to, we will in a minute. I wanted to address this first. And one of the reasons why I think that Iran is so far ahead of the US at this point is because Trump is now trying to saber rattle all these other countries in NATO to say, hey, listen, you totally have to help me with opening up the Strait of Hormuz. And the other countries like, I ain't doing shit. What, are you nuts? I'm not getting involved in this. You brought this on yourselves. And I truly believe that a lot of these countries have been looking for an excuse to get away from the West, particularly the US and Israel, and now they have their opportunity. And I've been saying this to my fellow Americans. If we do not break away from Israel, Israel will drag us to hell with them. That's where we're going. And this is a prime example of that. What's he going to do? Blow up the Strait of Hormuz? Yeah, that's going to solve the problem. Then it will really be the end of American empire as we know it. I mean, I really feel like we're heading there already. And so through the Financial Times, he says, wealthy individuals pull $10 billion from private credit funds and a good night for one battle after another. Again, this is all relatable to this idea that on the one hand, if you're going to warn NATO allies that you have to help, but they're not going to help, what are you going to do next? Are you going to start bombing their countries too? Trump had an 8-minute call with the Financial Times last night when he said Europe and China were the main beneficiaries of oil and gas exports traveling through the narrow waterway off the southern coast of Iran and should therefore help the military campaign to reopen it. It's only appropriate that people who are the beneficiaries of the Strait will help to make sure that nothing bad happens here. If there's no response or if it's a negative response, I think it will be very bad for the future of NATO. Oh, he's been saying that for a while, hasn't he? Iran, in effect, shut the Strait after the U.S. and Israel launched their war more than 2 weeks ago, sparking fears of a new oil price shock for the global economy. Oil prices rose again on Monday after ending last week above $100 a barrel. Brent crude, the international benchmark, is currently up 1.6% at $104.73 a barrel. The U.S. president expressed particular frustration with Britain's response so far to the conflict. Again, this is what happens when elections have actual consequences, like the Green Party, the one party in the UK that said we are not supporting Israel under any circumstances. And now you win, and the consensus is, yeah, we're not getting involved in this shit, so what do you want them to do? The people are speaking. They don't want this. Asked to specify the help he needs from NATO, the U.S. president said, whatever it takes. He added that allies should send minesweepers, of which Europe possesses many more than the U.S. He also implied he wanted European commando teams or other military help to eliminate bad actors based on Iran's southern shore with drones and naval mines. What in the hell does he think is going to happen here?
I know what I think is going to happen. I think that every single Marine that goes over there is not even going to get there, and they're all coming back in body bags. That's what's going to happen. They're not going to make it there. And every military person has said this. So, Zaina, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, was it Chris Murphy said in the readout that they got from the DOW, the Department of War, it stated that they weren't even prepared for the Strait of Hormuz, despite generals warning about it. So they've had 30 years. They've had 30 years to reroute pipes, systems through Saudi Arabia down to Oman, or on the other side of the Gulf to go out into the Arabian Sea and into the Gulf of Oman, and they didn't. They didn't. They could have had alternative routes. Instead, they thought, we'll just bully Iran forever with sanctions, and they won't do anything in this region. They won't do anything. They'll just keep letting us pass, despite the fact that they can't even utilize the Strait of Hormuz fully for their own economy and their own people. That's what happened, essentially. It's like you said earlier, it's the arrogance. It's the
arrogance. Zainab Iranian originally? My understanding, let me get this right. You're half, right? Your dad's Iranian, right? Okay. All right.
My mom's Appalachian. My baba's directly from Iran. He migrated here in 79. And I do have a lot of family, aunts, uncles, cousins that still live there. So, and I have several cousins that traveled back and forth. Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to visit because of restrictions and other things. Would love to, though. But I'm very familiar because I have a lot of family that are.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds once this gets settled, if it even gets settled anytime soon. The question is, are we heading for some type of a world war situation, or are we already in it?
That's a good question.
I think we're in it. I actually think that historically, that, you know, when you look back at what was the trigger, because it's never really just one thing, right? Like, it's never just one thing. But I think that historically, when we're look back, like in 100 years, if humans still exist, which I don't know, but they'll look back at, I think, October 7th, 23 as the final straw that really set World War III into motion. I think that was the biggest wake up call for people around the world that are just, they're done with it. And we've been watching it over that. So that's how I think, but I think that's when it really, that became the World War III phase that we're in, I think started then.
I think we're in a Cold War too. Mm-hmm. And the Cold War is over rare earth minerals, chip development, chip manufacturing with China. A couple months ago, it flew under the radar, but essentially I'm calling it a new G7 because there was a meeting called Pax Silica with Japan. Canada was a non-signatory participant. UAE was present. Israel was centered in the Pax Silica meeting. Let's see, South Korea signed on, Japan, and now France has entered the fray as well. And what this is getting ahead of securing the rare earth minerals, and the countries where the rare earth minerals are mind-blowing. It's Venezuela, of course, Somalia, you know, the fight over Somaliland and Israel being the only one that recognizes it. That's where the rare earth minerals are. Nigeria.
Did you know what Peter called that? Peter, tell Zaina what you, wait, before you, Peter, tell Zaina what you called that.
What?
When Israel recognized Somaliland.
Oh, Narnia. It's like Narnia.
Recognizing Atlantis.
Recognizing Atlantis.
Sorry.
Pretty much. That's really funny analogy. And let's see, Greenland and Ukraine. So everywhere where all this interest is where most of the perspectives lie. Argentina, there's quite a few perspectives as well.
There's also a huge rare earth minerals in Mexico.
Yes, but they've utilized some of it. But the ones that are actually for chip manufacturing are the majority in the countries that we have had focus on for a bunch of different excuses. But that's the one thoroughfare that's the one through line, is that they all have perspectives for rare earth minerals that are needed for AI chips manufacturing.
Sure.
And that's the new Cold War. That's the new warfare. That's where we're headed to, is this AI development, drone warfare like they've utilized in Gaza, and I wouldn't call it warfare. They utilized for the Gazan genocide and to surveil people in the West Bank. You guys know Lavender, Oracle, turn it around and sell it now to the DHS to utilize to surveil our migrants here and to put us protesting it on terrorist watch lists. So, I mean, that's the new center. That's the new center of warfare. Although nuclear is still a major problem, I think this is the next place. And China owns 80% of rare earth mineral production and the majority of production for chips manufacturing.
Yeah, they're hoarding.
So that's what we're looking at. We're also looking at trade route wars, for the Belt and Road Initiative and others. So,
well, this is
I think a lot of roads lead to China for us in what we do, whether it's Venezuela, what we're doing. A lot of roads lead to China, but at the end of the day, I don't think that China is going to allow us to do any significant damage to their economy that they've worked so hard to build. And I think that's where we're getting right now, is where we're really pushing the rest of the world up against this wall, and they're not having it.
And this is also,
I'm here for it.
And this is also the fear of the collapsing of empire. This is something that was, let's just say, prophesized many years ago in the film Network. The people who truly run the show, they don't give a shit about America. This is just a means to an end for them. If they have to go somewhere else in the world and live like kings and queens there, that's what they're going to do. And we're going to be left at the side of the road. And American ignorance and arrogance is going to be our downfall. We think that we can't be like everyone else, or that we can't end up like a third world country. Trust me, we can, and we probably will. And
well, the tech bros, Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel, Praxis Nation is what they're calling their initiative, has now, when I first reported on it, it had about $2 million investment. It now has almost $1.5 trillion in investments. Sure. And what it is an initiative mostly to balkanize the United States and create these little smart cities that they have, like the one that Elon Musk just built out in the desert, where we bring back, utilize cryptocurrency, but we bring back script towns, which I'm all too familiar with as an Appalachian, where all the currency, everything you get paid is in that cryptocurrency, and they want to be kings. But it was so fringe and so crazy, and Curtis Yarvin was only on places like Medium. I feel like I need to make Medium. I feel like I need to make like a tinfoil hat, but it's real. And these guys are the ones advising this White House. Instead of them moving somewhere else, they literally, some of these people want to balkanize the United States and bring back monarchy. Yanis Varoufakis talks about this as well. But they have the fantasy that they're superior to us. They want to create a bunch of Elysiums, essentially. And this isn't hyperbole. It's not conspiracy theory. It's literally what these dudes want to do.
Yes. Well, what do you think all the cop cities are for?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think all those are for? It's all coinciding with this boots on our neck situation that we're dealing with, and it's just going to get worse. But, we sort of joke about that we're in the Hunger Games. No, we're in the Hunger Games. They're about to be breaking us down to like districts for utilitarian purposes. People start learning how to grow food.
Speaking of the Hunger Games, what in the ever-loving hell they're doing in Cuba right now? Are they just trying to kill everybody? Is that the plan?
Yes. That's part of it. Sadly, it's no longer hyperbole. Like I said, this is no longer conspiracy theory when they're talking openly about it in our faces at World Economic Forum. When these tech bros are literally talking about population control and de-escalating property. Yeah, they see us as property. Population growth.
Cuba's electrical grid collapses amid U.S. oil blockade. Now, of course, I had to pull this from The Guardian because none of the American publications, liberal or conservative and everything in between, want to address the fact that this happened because of what the United States is doing to Cuba.
Well, okay, again, this is a war crime. This is a war crime. You're not allowed to do that. So, we're just rogue. We're running amok, and we need to be put down like the rabid dog that we are.
10 million people left without power in latest outages that sparked violent protest last weekend. Well, what the hell do you expect? Cuba's national electric grid has collapsed. The country's grid operator has said, leaving approximately 10 million people without power amid the oil blockade that has crippled the island already obsolete generation system. The grid operator, UNE, said on social media Monday that it was investigating the causes of the blackout. The latest in a series of widespread outages, the last for hours or days, and that last weekend sparked a rare violent protest in the communist-run country. The U.S. has ratcheted up pressure this year on its longtime foe, Cuba. Yeah. Since capturing the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro, Cuba's most important foreign benefactor, in January, the U.S. president, Donald Trump, cut off Venezuelan oil shipments to Cuba and threatened to put tariffs on any country that sold oil to Cuba, strangling the Caribbean island's already antiquated grid. Cuba said on Friday that it was in talks with the U.S. with the hope of diffusing the crisis. Trump has said in recent weeks that Cuba is on the verge of collapse and is eager to make a deal with the U.S. Cuba has received only 2 small vessels carrying oil imports this year, according to the LSEG ship tracking data seen by Reuters on Monday. First tanker discharged fuel at the Havana port in January, coming from Mexico, which was a regular supplier to the island until then. The second vessel from Jamaica discharged liquefied petroleum gas, known as cooking gas, in February. Venezuela, once Cuba's main oil supplier, has sent no fuel to the island this year. Well, it would seem to me that perhaps the biggest problem here is that what has been done to Venezuela is now having a direct effect on Cuba, and we're just exacerbating the problem even further. But the question is, why are we doing that?
So, Zaina, do you want to say something before you go, before you have to head out? Do you want to put it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 things. I think one, they are encroaching in this into southern the communities that are along the Caribbean, right? And I really want to investigate more as to why they have their eye on the Caribbean. I think there's more to learn there. So I can't answer your question yet, but I'm starting to dig into that because I really want to know. I have a friend that lives in the Caribbean, and she's talking about how even the fear of getting out into the waters has slowed down their economy and is potentially going to slow down their economy when it comes to travel, for instance, which is a huge money boom for the Caribbean. That's one of the ways that they sustain themselves. When it comes to Cuba, I think they already pulled out Cuban doctors from CARICOM Islands. Did you guys know that? Donald Trump mandated all CARICOM Islands to pull out Cuban doctors. So that was the first. And now they're putting the ratchet down on Cuba, which Cuba is a resource and does support, so does Venezuela, CARICOM in general. In so many ways, from the doctors to financially, they work together as a network in the CARICOM. So I don't know if Cuba is a target partially for that as well. So I feel like they're trying to ratchet down to put pressure on CARICOM as a whole, because CARICOM, there are a lot of CARICOM countries that are pushing back against the U.S. putting more military bases in Cuba, in the region. So they're trying to, I think, and this is just my opinion, potentially secure Cuba for a military outpost a lot bigger than Gitmo. And I think that's part of what's going on here. At least.
I also let's not fool ourselves. Okay, we've had our panties in a bunch over Cuba completely irrationally for decades at this point, and especially when you have someone like Marco Rubio in the position that he's in. I mean, this man has had a hard on to go after Cuba since he was raised that way. So we do have that element, but there is something way more. I agree.
And Trump's acting like it's 1985. He's doing 1985 politics. He's like, the Panama Canal.
Exactly.
Excuse me, but I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. Whether I free it, take it, think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now, and we have a habit of taking things that don't belong to us when we weaken.
This is interesting too. Zaina, right? When is Obama going to close Gitmo? What didn't Obama promise to close down Gitmo?
He sure did. He also promised to collapse the DHS and repeal the Patriot Act. But look at where we are. Shocking.
Oh my God. And he's a Democrat. Oh my God. So surprising.
I know, right, Jen? Remember when we were fighting to abolish ICE and everyone abandoned that platform as soon as Obama
Yes.
was, because Jen was with us when we were fighting for that. So was Peter in 2020, 2019, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Soon as Biden won, Democrats abandoned, just dropped it like a hot potato.
But
you know, I'm kind of thankful. Let me tell you why I'm thankful that they did. Because now I'm not about abolishing ICE, right? Now I'm about abolition, period.
Me too.
So, and quite honestly, at a minimum, the DHS. So I've now gone from wanting to abolish ICE to complete abolition. And I have them to thank for that to some extent. So that's what I've gotten from it.
And speaking of which, because I'm about to head out on bullhornbulletin.com, my news site, I do have an article that literally the headline of it is "Abolish ICE is not enough."
Thank you.
And so
Colin,
it goes through the details of what I call the deportation industrial complex. And it explains why, it explains about CoreCivic, Geo Group, the history of violence, and how it did not start with Donald Trump. Correct. And goes over as far back as Obama's record. So, yeah.
All right, Colin, can you make sure to put the link to Zainab's stuff in our stuff? Of course. No, of course. I love what you're doing. I love it when you do good deep dives.
Final thought. I really think it's imperative that people understand that all the bravado and the bloviation that these guys are doing right now, talking about the Greater Israel Project and we're going to take over the Caribbean and all of this. Do you know how all empires collapse, ladies and gentlemen? It is almost universal throughout history. Once the currency is debased, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And the fact that the real currency, which is natural resources, are being hoarded by the likes of China and India and many nations in between. And the fact that you have BRICS and they have their own currency that is coming to the globe and is going to be backed by gold. Let me assure you that the United States as an empire, much like Israel is going to probably be wiped off the map, but the United States as an empire, the days are numbered. I can't say for certain how quick it's going to happen, but it's happening. So plan accordingly is what I would say. Final thoughts before you go.
No, I agree. And, you know, the irony is that in a lot of ways, we're already in a multipolar world. China's currency is strong. India is growing. China owns a good chunk of the US dollar. A lot of people don't talk about that, but they already own a lot. It's
important. It's important.
Yeah. And so, you know, they have a vested interest in us not completely falling because they have ownership of this. But we've been selling out our country bit by bit to the UAE, to China, to other places. And Americans have no investment. We have no investment in our own infrastructure, our own currency. Ellison is about to own everything under the sun. When it comes to media, for instance, everything is monopolized. And that is part of how it crumbles too, is that everything gets consolidated into a handful of oligarchs, whether it's monarchy, whether it's oligarchy, whether it was plunder in the ancient era. This is how societies always collapse. The bread and circuses and the not giving your people enough. We are Rome. We are Rome at the end of Rome's empire.
We are.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. we can hope.
It's time for the rest of the world, that really is the majority of the world, to have self-determination and control. And quite honestly, we've done a really shitty job. Okay. Like, as far as I'm concerned, we have failed as a species. I don't even know that it has to do with any one particular. I really do. I feel like when I hear the voice of Hind Rajab, I think we have failed as a species. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's bigger than any one country. So I don't know, but
appreciate you coming on,
my friends. Hope to see you guys again soon.
Absolutely.
It was really nice being on. As always, much respect, and love you guys.
Love you, Zainab. Guys, check out Zainab's work. Bye, Zainab.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So
for people that were questioning why Zainab would have to leave, as if this is so important because this is important, but she has other important things too. She wasn't going out to go like club hopping and partying. She has another journalism commitment. She was kind enough to squeeze us in at last minute because our scheduled guest is sick and under the weather and wasn't able to come on. So Zainab is like the what do you call it? Pinch hitter.
Zainab always comes through in the clutch.
Right.
And speaking of the collapsing of the empire, which is clearly happening, because one of the things that always was clear when we were in the middle of the war on terror, and you have this sort of left-right divide, if you will, that if you do not get behind the war effort, that you hate the troops, you're against the troops. Fox News, remember the Fox News alerts, DEFCON 5, DEFCON 3, etc. Hey, it's a red alert. Better look out. Things are bad.
That was really, you mean like following 9/11, yes. Like how we went down that, and people were like, well, what's the color today? What's the security color today? And I actually remember that because that was when Reese was in daycare and he was at the JCC. And so the DEFCON threats or the security level was always on like everyone's mind.
Yeah, definitely not red. Red was the bad color. Now, a person who has always been at the forefront of bitching and complaining and always demanding endless war for his own safety is Mark Levin. We're going to have a little fun now.
Okay, wait. Okay, all right. Go ahead. I was just going to say, because if you're going to get into the Megyn Kelly thing, are you getting into that?
Yes.
Because we're having like a Megalodon versus micro penis story time situation. Like, I'm not exactly sure because, like, on the one hand, Megyn is Megalodon, but on the other hand, he's a complete piece of shit. So, all right, go ahead.
Well, here comes the fat, burly, bald, blind bastard who is a Zio scumsucker of the highest order who would never sign up to defend this country under any circumstances, but he wants you to do it for him.
In the tradition of our greatest peacetime/wartime presidents, despite the outrageous media coverage in this country, despite the constant efforts under Operation Sabotage by a Democrat Party that is hell-bent on losing this war, that is hell-bent on undermining the commander-in-chief, that is hell-bent on undermining our armed forces. And yes.
Wait, is this serious?
It's like the Democrats. It's the Democrat. That's what it was.
Wait. Democrats. People watch this and think this is real, right? This is fascinating. Like, this is like The Onion. It's hilarious. We can win this war. Oh, okay. We've already lost this war. We lost this war 2 decades ago.
Bingo.
Is giving aid and comfort, propaganda to the enemy, as are individuals who I call the woke right neo-fascists, who are stirring the anti-Semitism pot, who are stirring the trash Christian pot. They are no different than the same voices we heard in the 1930s, and just as disgusting, evil, and reprehensible. All this talk about this war wasn't imminent. Why did we decide now?
Colin, I sometimes you gotta, there's gotta be something with these clips. I'm gonna start again over here. And if it gets bad again, I'm gonna have to download it myself.
They are no different than the same voices we heard in the 1930s, and just as disgusting, evil, and reprehensible. All this talk about this war wasn't imminent. Why did we decide now? All this talk about what is the mission? All of this is used to try and obstruct, undermine, dispirit, and divide this nation. At a time when Donald Trump is doing what great presidents do. Shame on you, Democrats, for what you are
that's
doing
the
to
problem.
this country.
It's the Democrats.
Who exactly? Well,
can we get to the good part of this? Can we get to the response from Megyn Kelly at least? Okay, because this is brutal.
But what I want to point out is, this is just like Ben Shapiro. It's like, who is listening to this? Who is listening to it and thinking, you know what, that Mark Levin, he's really onto something. I think he's right.
I know, Josie, we've had
enough. You will be remembered
Josie.
Forever. You will remember as the isolationists of the 1930s. Shame on you, woke right neo-fascists. You will be remembered as the unpatriotic, anti-American Jew haters that you are.
Make it stop.
I ask you.
I can't.
What do you think
No,
Jefferson
Mark,
and
you'll be
Madison would do in
remembered
these
as a psychotic
circumstances
Stop.
today?
Please,
What do you think
stop.
patriotic, anti-American Jew haters that you are? I ask you.
Exactly.
What do you think Jefferson and Madison would do in these circumstances today? What do you think Franklin Roosevelt would do in these circumstances today? Or Abraham Lincoln or George Washington or even Ronald Reagan when they didn't have nuclear weapons in Iran? What do you think they would do? They would take action.
And this story time was brought to you by Understanding Small Dick Energy in the Wild.
It sounds like
the
he's
premier
crying.
guide to navigating the micropenis forest. And that is what we're dealing with here. He
sounded like he was crying.
He is. He's freaking out.
Hey, you despicable America. Hey, dude, anytime you want to sign up, if those young men who don't want to fight this war are going to go over there to die, but you want it to be fought, get your fat, lazy, old lard ass over there and do it yourself. You believe in it that much, then go fight it. Well, this was not going to not be met with a vicious response, and of all the people to do it,
By the Megyn Ledon. The Megyn Ledon is there. Can't. Okay, the Megyn Ledon calling Mark micropenis. I have to do this. I have to say the Megyn Kelly part, okay? Micropenis Mark thinks he has the monopoly on lewd. He tweets about me obsessively in the crudest, nastiest terms possible, literally more than some stalkers I've had arrested. He doesn't like it when women like me fight back because of his micropenis. Yeah, I mean, the irony of that. So it's, are we, versus, like we're kind of, so, this is a rough one, guys. Who are we with? Who are we with on this? I don't know. Woo!
Poor Megyn Kelly, an emotionally unhinged, lewd, and petulant wreck. She's completely revealed and destroyed herself. She's everything people say she is, but much worse. Never an
Exactly. It's like a douche versus a turd.
Or substantive comment, utterly toxic. You have to have a feeling that these two probably didn't like each other very much when they
Of
had
course
to
not.
work in the same office.
Of course not. But yet they're both pieces of shit. That's what's so funny. It's like we're it's great. It's really great.
So, of course, naturally, the overwhelming majority of people are behind Megyn Kelly, as was displayed on social media. Now, we can't and don't need to cover all of the musings of a whole bunch of individuals, but we do have one person in particular who is going to share his thoughts as to why Mark Levin must be left alone, because he's such a good person.
Oh, no. What is this nonsense?
Because Mark Levin deserves an audience of one. We all know who that is. Mark Levin, a truly great American patriot, is someone under siege by other people with far less intellect, capability, and love for our country. Mark is tough, strong, and brilliant. He's great in bed, too. Hence the nickname, the Great One, conceived by our MAGA friend, the wonderful Sean Hannity. After years of dealing with Mark in legal, media, and other capacities, Mark would often do Sean's show, speaking as a lawyer, and Sean realized then, as did others, that he was special. Mark Levin was not looking to do television, radio, or anything else, but he was drafted by very smart, incredible people who understood that there are a few like him. He is a true conservative, an intellect far smarter than those who criticize him, but above all, he is a man of great wisdom and common sense who truly loves our country. When you hear others unfairly attack Mark, remember that they are jealous and angry human beings whose sway is much less than the public understands and will now that they know where I stand, rapidly diminish. Other than for his wonderful wife and family, Mark Levin only cares and wants one thing: greatness and success for America. Those that speak ill of Mark will quickly fall by the wayside. It's waste side, not wayside. As people whose ideas, policies, and footings are not sound. They are not MAGA. I am. And MAGA includes not only Iran, a sick, demented, and violent terrorist regime, to have a nuclear weapon to blow the United States of America, the Middle East, and ultimately the rest of the world up. MAGA is about stopping them cold, and that is exactly what we are doing. God bless our military, which I have rebuilt since the beginning of my first to achieve everlasting peace through strength. Make America great again.
Again.
Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. If you think that that's the end,
you know what? No, he is, but yeah. And he's always had a problem with Megyn Kelly anyway. So he's such a petty little man. He is such a petty, 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 very little man. And as such, he is just not capable of taking the high road. Oh. I, however, am. I'm going to take the high road. And now I'm in my own house, so I can do whatever I want.
Well, thank you for the correction.
I can do whatever I want. It is all by the wayside. Yeah. So I can do whatever I want now. I'm free. So Rachel, if you would, tonight's show is sort of unofficially sponsored by what is this strain? Put it in the chat, please. We're hoping to at some point get a real sponsor, but until then, tonight's episode is sponsored by Checkmate strain of cannabis.
Colin, I need that last tweet from Mr. Levin. His thank you. It's a big one. Okay. If you think that that was pathetic, this is, I don't even know what to say to this. Mr. President, I am beyond humbled by your words and graciousness in writing such a beautiful note and sharing it on Truth Social. I am honored that you took the time to write it. Your courage, strength, and moral clarity are truly unparalleled.
I don't even have a graphic sufficient for this. Like I can't come up with, I need a picture of Mark Levin with Trump's scrotum in his mouth in order to really capture the essence of what this graphic would need to be. But please continue.
Your courage, strength, and moral clarity are truly unparalleled, and your leadership has made our country and the world much safer. Both you and what you are doing deserve our support, and I will not be intimidated or bow to threats. Though your insight and through your insight and steady hand, America has been made great again. It is an enormous honor to know you as my family and I do, and call you, Mr. President, our friend. You're one of a kind, truly remarkable. Please be safe, and God bless.
Hey, Mark, you know what? We're going to take this as your roommate application for when you're in prison, okay? You like him so much. You want to really get close to, you want to like play with his taint. Maybe when you guys are all serving in prison together, that'll happen. Maybe you'll get lucky.
You know what? They're going to all end up on like some deserted island altogether. Like that's
good. Good. That's what they want. And I saw somebody like speculating as to whether or not Mark Levin was ever on the Lolita Express. Who knows? But why not? Like, I mean, at this point, everybody, but I think the current Pope has been on the Lolita Express. Like, sure. And Mark Levin is just such a total tool piece of shit. And I thought, remember we showed that? What was that? The video where he was manhandling Trump. What was that from? At some like
one of the. It was like a Hanukkah party or some shit.
Right, and he was like very handsy with the president. It was weird, and you pointed it out at the time, and I remember thinking, yes, that is very weird that he was like manhandling Trump.
Well, that's the thing about Zions. That's the thing about Zionist Jews in terms of what they do. And so many of you know that as things have taken a turn for the very worst for the Israelis, much like any other society, the richest and most influential are the ones that have been able to get out of Ben Gurion Airport and make their pilgrimage to other places. One of the more common places that they've made their pilgrimage, as we know, is to South America, particularly Argentina. Well, it turns out that the Israelis are now popping up in Brazil. Now, again, video not coming in good to start. Let's try it one more time. But Israeli
It's a StreamYard problem, Peter, not a Colin problem.
Well, StreamYard doesn't like us to begin with.
That's, again, not a Colin problem.
Israeli tourists were beaten and kicked out of a beach in Brazil after assaulting a woman carrying a Palestinian flag, because of course they would beat a woman. Why would they ever stand up physically to a man, let's say? It's just not in their DNA now, is it?
And I hope they continue to get their asses handed to them everywhere they go in the world amongst regular people. They won't, in the higher echelons and the elites and all that, they'll be accepted because they're all disgusting. But amongst regular people, I want this to happen everywhere they go. And you know what? The arrogance of these motherfuckers. Their country is committing a Holocaust. The whole world hates them. And so they think that they should go and assault somebody in another country carrying a Palestinian flag. These are people that have never been put in their place, and it is coming down on them tenfold, and it is so good to watch.
And they're not going to know what to do. That's the thing. They're so proud. They wear it on their sleeve. What they don't understand, they are still not recognizing that no matter what happens, they are pariahs now. And whenever they attempt to go anywhere else, they are going to be met with the same fervor as they're being met with here. They should be thankful of the grace of whatever is above, that they are not being summarily executed when they go places because of what they've done to the world. More places are much more forgiving. But take solace in the fact that the state of Israel is on its way out.
Oh, definitely. It's, and in so many ways simultaneously. Physically, militarily, economically, socially, globally, like they're a pariah.
They are.
Free Palestine! 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 Free Palestine!
I want to be very clear about something that I think people are also failing to recognize. You know, one of the things that has, if not maybe the most important aspect of why Israel has been kept afloat for as long as it has, is because the United States has been financially backing Israel for as long as we have. Now, one of the things that people forget when it comes to money is the exchange. What type of money are Israelis using when they go to these other places? Eventually, they're not going to have money that will be accepted in these places. They will not be able to transition their currency as a result. The BRICS nations have no intention of doing any business whatsoever with Israel. So how do you think that's going to go over? the more the debasement happens, the more they're going to find that when they try to go to places like this, and I know you and I have a difference of opinion as to why they ended up in Brazil in the first place. I personally think—
I don't think it's a difference of opinion as much as different possibilities. I don't think we really know, but I think it's different things are possible. And actually both theories are possible.
Yes. And I also, but again, but as I pointed out, what I do believe is that what you have here are a lot of people that have probably relocated to Argentina and have been making their way through South America. And they found their way in what, again, if you're picking a coastal community in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro naturally comes to mind. So you assume if that's where they are and they're causing a ruckus, this is the thing, like you were saying, well, what if Netanyahu just went away? Well, the only way that would make sense is if he had facial reconstruction surgery and people couldn't recognize him. Because if he's recognized, people are going to put him out there on blast. This is no different than the theory that Jeffrey Epstein is still alive and he's showing up in places and people are like, hey, that guy looks like Jeffrey Epstein.
If those are real or if that's them just fucking with us. Like at this point, I don't know. And at this point, we don't know what to believe. Even when we see it, we don't know that we can believe it. So that's the problem. All right. So Peter believes that the Israelis are basically sneaking into Brazil from Argentina. Is that what you think? Like that they're just sort of like—
I don't even necessarily know if they're just sneaking in. I just think that we know that they're in Argentina. We know that they've made their way there. Has favela called Israel.
Let me tell you something, and I don't ever told you this, but like I used to know a woman who her family is Israeli, but she was born in Brazil. There is a very strong link with the Zionists, Israel, and Brazil. There have always been. There's a lot of Israelis that have always lived in Brazil. So that's what I was saying to you, which my theory is that they go there in the same manner in which they go to Argentina. I think it's they go to both countries as opposed to they go to one and sneak into another. I mean, I don't think they're kept out of Brazil because I didn't know there was a favela there named that, but I'm not surprised.
In the end, as I've been saying, as you've been saying, they are on borrowed time. And when they make their venture into other cultures and they show themselves, they're not wanted. They are not accepted. And eventually, the arc of history is going to bend against them. And may it happen sooner rather than later. What I want to say—
That's why. I mean, I'm not— so just like, and in this country, a whole ton of the Sephardic Jews, for people, tidbit of information, who were kicked out of the Iberian Peninsula, Jews came to Charleston, South Carolina, was one of the biggest outposts of Sephardic. I never knew this until I was there. It was fascinating. But yeah, from prior to the revolution in this country, there were Sephardic Jews in South Carolina. But anywho, so it does make sense that they would be going to Brazil.
Now, I don't want to, again, the one thing we always try to do is make sure people understand that it's two equal parts, even if it isn't equal numbers. But the impact of Jewish Zionism is just as equal and great as the impact of Christian Zionism. Now, we haven't had the opportunity. I've been trying to get Carrie, Prejean, Boller on the podcast. It hasn't been that easy. However, she did sit down with Tucker the other day, and she basically explained why she was kicked off of the religious liberty panel or organization that she was a part of, which should probably come as no surprise to anybody that this is ultimately what ended up happening because she spoke out against the state of Israel.
And I got a call after I was on pins and needles. I finally got a call, and it was Dan and Paula. And I'll never forget. I literally remember
Dan
every
Patrick
word.
and
Yes,
Paula White.
yes, they called me and they said, "Hi, Carrie. I know you've been worried this past couple weeks, but." Dan started and he goes, "I just want to let you know we've been in meetings about your situation."
What situation?
Yeah, what situation that I'm posting about? God forbid I criticize Israel. Can't do that while serving in this administration. And he said, "I just want to let you know, Carrie, your job on this commission Oh, no, can't do that while serving in this administration. And he said, I just want to let you know, Carrie, your job on this commission, I'll never forget this, Tucker. Your job on this commission is to protect the president and his reputation.
Your job is to protect the reputation of the president, not religious liberty.
Said that to me, the first thing out of his mouth. I couldn't believe it. I go, what? I thought my job is to protect religious freedom. I thought that's what he appointed me to do. And he goes, you've been saying things online, Carrie, and you really need to stay off social media. Do not use social media between now and the end of your term.
Trump told her to stay off social media?
Ken Paxton and psycho lady Paula White Kane told her to stay off of social media.
I don't know who those people are, Peter.
Well, Paula is the Looney Tune spiritual advisor of the president.
Oh, that one. Okay.
And then Paula White chimed in and she said, yeah, Carrie, you know what? You really shouldn't be posting about replacement theology. You shouldn't be posting about that. And there's a lot of people that are saying that you're an anti-Semite, Carrie, by your posts. You're criticizing Zionism. You're criticizing Israel. And we have a problem with that. And then Dan chimed in again and he got loud. He got real loud. And he's like, Carrie, because I pushed back and I said, well, wait a second. I said, what am I posting that is so offensive to you? That's against the rules of this commission. Because I didn't sign anything saying I wasn't going to use my social media. I speak out about things that I care about. I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian. And he said, you've been saying things that go against, I'll never forget this. He goes, you've been saying things that are not in alignment with the president and are not in alignment with Paula White and some of the other members on this commission. And that's when I knew that this commission was a fraud. It was
shocking. Shocking. You're saying that the president of the United States created a commission that wasn't serious? That's ever happened? Do these people come from, I don't know her and I'm sure she's not stupid or whatever, but why would anybody nowadays think that anything created like that would be sincere? Well, you'd have to be living in a box to think that that would be a legitimate thing.
No, but this is also, in many ways, this is the divide. This is the split divide that's happening. And I can respect Paula White from where she's coming from. Paula White, damn it. Carrie, Prejean, Boller, where she's coming from, because she is a practicing Catholic and she is somebody who fully supports the liberation of the Palestinian people. She does not support the state of Israel, much like the Catholic Church does not support the state of Israel. And this has become a real point of contention. Problem is that in the United States, the biggest single religious denomination by a considerable margin is Catholicism. That's number one. So you're kind of barking up the wrong tree in terms of where things are going to move politically in this country. Problem is that the solution is not through the Democrats either. They're just better at protecting empire than the Republicans are. It's still the same bullshit.
It was not about religious freedom. It was about, you better be a Zionist, you better push our agenda, or you're off. And that was in August. So we ended the conversation. Dan got really upset because I said, I really do want to keep posting. I'm not going to not use my social media. Can't agree to that, Dan. And he goes, well, why don't you just, if you have any questions about Israel or Gaza, because Paula White chimed in, was like, I'm the expert in that. You're just
Paula White's an expert on Gaza?
Yeah, I'm the expert in that. I just got back from there and there's no kids starving there. It's all fake, Carrie.
The audacity, the caucasity. That's appropriate for that one, right?
Not really, but it's better. I don't think you're really getting it. Continue.
The idea that she would say, oh, I was there. I saw what was going on. It's not that bad. That takes a lot of guts.
And she very well was there. And where she was very, very,
insulated.
set up. It was staged, it was prepared, it was sterilized, whatever. And yet this is also someone who is a complete grifter that is saying this. So why would we believe her?
It's all pretend. Yeah.
Right.
And so she said, if you
She's
want
a Christian minister saying that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that she, at any point in the course of a day, feels like, oof, I'm going to have to answer for this at some point?
No, because she's not really Christian.
To deny the...
Because she's not really a Christian. That's why she doesn't think like that. If she were really a Christian, then she wouldn't be a grifter and a fraud. So she isn't really a Christian. And which, again, it's so bizarre to me when I'm the atheist pointing this out, but she's not a Christian.
Couldn't have said it better, David.
So the point is that she sleeps just fine with it, Tucker, because it isn't anything she needs to really reconcile because she's not really a Christian. That's what I think. So.
Death of children in the name of Jesus is a pretty heavy thing to do.
It's pretty sick. It's pretty dark. And she said, I want you, if you have any questions about anything, if you want to post anything, you need to run it by me first.
I mean, my God, what is this? And if anybody, if you guys have seen the clip that we dropped earlier this afternoon on Paula White Kane, please check it out. I mean, I like, Jen and I are very fortunate. I was raised in New Jersey. She was raised in South Florida. We came from fairly educated parts of the United States. But a lot of people that grow up in these evangelical churches, the church is the center of the entire universe. And I'm going to show you guys what that's all about in a second. But when you are brought up in an environment where somebody like Paula White on the outside to people like us that are aware of this grift would look at it and say, this is insanity. Yet you go to a lot of places in the heartland, the South and the Great Plains, they buy into this stuff. They get indoctrinated from a very young age. And they think that, oh, well, if the pastor who speaks to God directly is telling us that this is the way it is, well, we better listen or we're going to burn in hell. That's how they think.
So now Paula White, an equal of mine on this commission, is now telling me that I have to get everything approved by her in order to post about my religious beliefs. Is that insane?
Yeah, it's making my heart beat fast.
Yeah.
Listening to this,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So that's the backstory.
Well, it's completely evil. And I'll just say, I know Paula White, sort of. I know Dan Patrick very well. He's a lot more liberal than I am. He's quite liberal, but I always liked him. He's not stupid at all. And I'm shocked by this. I was shocked by it. It's so disgraceful.
Me too. I cried, actually. I cried to my husband. I cried to my kids. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe that this was happening in the United States.
This just makes you look stupid. You see, she had me up until that. I was giving her the benefit of the doubt. Now you're just stupid. This really surprises you? What fucking rock have you been under, lady? What rock have you been under?
I'm not convinced that they're surprised. I think that they're also playing it up for the audience. Like I said, Tucker's very shrewd in the way that he goes about it. Like, I was shocked. No, you know exactly what these people are like. You know exactly what they're up to. And the reason that this is such a big deal, ladies and gentlemen, I came across this just going through various videos of what people are ultimately able to capture. And this is the fear. The fear more than anything else when it comes to Christian Zionism and what these children are put through. Get a load of this, Jen, because I know you didn't see this. Getting a little choppy, but let's see if it comes through a little better. I'll try one more time.
Is this, wait, whose church is this, though? What is this from?
This is just one of those evangelical, like.
Yeah, but what is the context of this video? Like, set it, like, I don't know the source. I don't know what I'm watching, and I don't know how it's connected to Paula White. And
they're basically teaching these kids to have like an out of body experience. Like,
yes, but all religions teach kids ridiculous shit. And as an atheist, that's one of the reasons that I'm how I am. So why are you focusing on this one if it's completely unrelated to the two people we were just talking about?
No, it's related in the context that this is what they do. This is how they.
How do you know this is a different church? Is this the same church that woman goes to or preaches at?
Or you're not
taking a random thing out of context?
Like, are you deliberately pretending like you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about? Like,
no,
what are you
I'm
doing?
asking you to give context for this.
I'm giving you the context. I'm telling you this is what goes on in Christian Zionist churches. I'm not saying this is Paula White's church. I'm saying that this is the type of stuff that goes on. They basically scare the living shit out of people. And
I don't know that this is a Christian Zionist church. Like, I don't know. And I'm just asking you for clarification because this to me could be Pentecostal.
Yes, but it's all connected to evangelism is what I'm saying. They're all connected. It's a form of Protestantism. It's psychotic Protestantism. And this is what they do to people. They convince these children that they're possessed with demons. And that
to me, that's the same thing as the Israelis teaching their children what they teach them. It's the same thing.
But as I said, this is the teachings of Israel above all else. And if you don't listen to us, you are going to burn in hell. This is what's coming for you. This is one thing when a stupid adult is acting out, you convince a child who could be probably no more than 7, 8 years old here to start jumping around like a loony bin that somehow they're possessed and they've got to get the demon out of their body. They have to cast them out.
I'm not denying the insanity. I was just wanting the link between this video and the prior video with Tucker Carlson and whatever her name is. So that's all.
I'm bringing it into full context.
Yes,
that
I understand. You're saying it's just generally Christian Zionists, evangelicals.
That this is what they do to them. So we're going to just show you how crazy this child gets. Come on. Colin, pull it, load it again. Or whatever needs to be done. I don't know why he's coming.
Peter meant to say, Colin, could you please do that? Thank you.
Yeah, Colin, please. Thank you.
Terrible. I can't even say it's unwatchable. This is unwatchable.
Maybe they're possessing our end. Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't know. It's unwatchable. And whoever said I should smoke a bowl, I think you're 1,000% right. Remember, sponsor, checkmate.
I truly feel bad for people that can't make their own decisions. And I also believe that if you're going to have children involved in religion, or that if you're going to be involved in religion, I don't think it's appropriate to have children involved.
But what religion, where do you draw the line though? Because again, as someone who doesn't believe in any of it, to me, it is all very indoctrinating, very brainwashy, very groupthink, all of it. Some are weirder than others, but I always find it interesting when a person of one religion thinks another religion sounds silly. When I'm sitting there and thinking, I gotta tell you. So I don't know why you think any one type of indoctrination is any better than any other. Because I don't think it's
33,000 factions of Protestantism. I thought, I don't know if it's that many, but probably at least a few thousand, because I know there's over 4,000 religions in the world. So this should not come as any surprise. But remember, in the end, is Josie Justice, is that down with the sickness? I mean, it might be. It didn't get too far along.
Yes, of course. I'm a water pipe girl. Is there a problem with that? I've never been into the doobies. Anywho.
Well, I think you said that it actually is a better high. Is that what it is?
I never said that. It's just I'm just old school. Exactly. Before I even said it, old school. Just how it is. And but I'm glass only now. So I'm environmentally proper.
All of it. I've been there. All of it. It's all meant to put you under control. Part of the reason why they get the kids, or they indoctrinate them as kids, is because if you try to introduce religion to somebody when they're old or they're an adult and they make their own decisions, not that many are going to be coming to the church or the synagogue or even the mosque for that matter. And I'm not here to pick one or the other and say that one's better than the other, because it isn't. In the end, I believe in free will. I believe that you should be able to make whatever decision you want to make. If religion is your fancy, that's fine. But as you can see clearly with these children, that's not a choice. That's forced upon them. And people like Paula White make a lot of money. They make so much money, and they get a lot of power. And now she is the spiritual advisor to the president of the United States. I would say that that's a pretty big problem.
It is. But let me say, as somebody who grew up in South Florida and every Saturday would watch the Orthodox Jews or the Chabad or the Lubavitch or whichever sect walking, and I see, and by the way, it could be 100 degrees, and these little kids, these little boys are having to wear like the tzitzit, which for people who don't know, it's the fringes that you see hanging out from their clothes are called tzitzit. And when boys, once they start wearing them, it's like, you got to wear them every day. So, I look at these kids and I'm like, they don't stand a chance. No. These kids and these little girls that are wearing dresses down to their feet and their heads are like all covered and they're wearing these, like, it's like these kids are just so brainwashed and indoctrinated that there really is not such a thing as free choice, because that's so ingrained in them before their brains are fully developed. And to some extent, all parents have to do that with children. We have to teach them things and indoctrinate them with things and ideas and values in any regard. We have to do that. But to me, when it's religious based like that, you're really taking away a lot of free thinking opportunity from your child. You're taking away their ability to come to conclusions on their own about a lot of big things. And to me, as a parent, that is not in the best interest of anyone, is to not be able to, critically think. So, and I find that with all religions. That's just me.
And speaking of not being able to critically think, you're going to get a double dose of Tucker tonight. But that's because Glenn Greenwald was his guest, and he brought up an excellent point about what has happened in this country when it comes to speaking out against religious indoctrination, particularly whether or not you can speak out against the state of Israel.
Got a lot of attention, and it drives me very crazy to this day because it's so preposterous, and it really predates October 7th. I would say it's now up to 35 or 36 states in the United States, the vast majority of which are red states, but not all, that have enacted laws that make it a requirement, if you want a government contract, that you certify that you do not support a boycott of Israel.
Wow.
Now, could we just address the lunacy? And this is, I've always said, of all the things about Wasserman Schultz that always drove me the most mad, this is it, because this is what she worked on. She worked on laws specifically pertaining to this, that not only can you not speak out against the state of Israel, but if you do, you are basically facing economic sanctions as a result. You speak out against Israel in the state of Florida, we will make sure that your business cannot get a contract. Now, there's no party lines here. They're all in this together. Just as she's in it, DeSantis is in it.
But this has been going on. This is the same concept as all the anti-BDS legislation that we were seeing. This is the same thing that was legislated in Texas by I believe she was a speech pathologist a few years back, that won her case when they refused to let her sign a contract unless she would promise not to boycott, divest, or sanction the Zio state. So this has been a problem for a while. I'm not exactly sure the exact context in which Glenn is speaking of it, like being utilized.
Well, he has more to say.
And a lot of people who had contracts before this law was passed ended up getting fired because they refused. There have been hurricane relief aid that cities have conditioned on signing a form that says you don't support a boycott of Israel. There have been all kinds of firings in universities for people who criticized Israel. So it's been developing for quite a while. It's not like it just started.
Hurricane relief was predicated on a signed statement that you don't support a boycott for Israel. In other words, you don't even have to be actively boycotting Israel, but if you conceptually support it, you can't get hurricane relief, emergency disaster aid.
Wait, where is Glenn talking about specifically?
Probably as it relates to what went on in the Carolinas, what went on in Florida, what went on in Georgia. Think about this. How many people died as a result of that?
There's still people that they haven't found. So, you know, there's people, yeah, and they still haven't gotten any relief in Carolina. They haven't.
Is that true?
First of all, this is the kind of thing that I know people don't believe unless they go look at it up. You know, it's so shocking. I know. If I didn't see it myself, I also wouldn't believe it. I think if I heard that, I'd be like, that's a conspiracy theorist saying crazy stuff. No, that actually is something that was instituted in many places. Different kinds of language, but mostly it requires that you certify that you don't participate in a boycott of Israel in order to get, you know, a state contract, or in order to get hurricane relief. There were HHS regulations once RFK took over that were forced on by the administration that said certain grants you can't get unless you certify that you're not supporting a boycott of Israel. Talking about grants for research that would help Americans' health, that would then got conditioned on this sort of thing. So this has been something that has been going on for a while. Let me just say one other thing, Tucker.
Well, whatever that one thing is, we didn't get it. But
all right, for everybody trying to figure out about Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner being Jewish, Nimoy was Jewish. Shatner, I'm not sure about.
Shatner is Jewish.
Okay, and we need to just bring back the Hanukkah song. Except for now, we're hating on Adam Sandler, and I don't want to. That's how we could all learn all the people that are Jewish is the Hanukkah song.
Just like you and me. I can do Adam Sandler.
Khan was a Zionist? Or when you're saying Khan was a Zionist, are you talking about Ricardo Montalban? Who is this? Blue Lantern, are you saying that Ricardo Montalban was a Zionist? Let me know. Because, yeah, married to a Trekkie, so I know these things.
Yes, of course. I was
half Jewish. That's what it says.
But I am Ricardo Montalban, and I love Israel, this beautiful country. I'm from Spain, if you remember. I made my pilgrimage across the Mediterranean and went to see the beautiful land. Would never have known otherwise. Adam Sandler is a massive Zionist. Just came out and said Tucker Carlson is now only a couple weeks. We're gonna get to the second clip in a second. You just stick around.
We know Sandler's a Zio. We know.
I love Israel because I am.
It's unfortunate, but here's the thing. Regardless of that, seriously, the Hanukkah song was one of the funniest things. At that point, when that came out, that was one of the funnious things I had ever heard, like played on the radio.
Simpson.
Not a Jew.
That was the last one. So do James Caan.
And people, they're loving your hair. It's great. It does look good. I don't know, because you probably feel like it's overgrown, right?
It was overgrown, but now it's at like a level where I feel pretty good.
Right.
Yeah. And it's actually a great place to conclude this evening, because as much as it's a joke, Netanyahu.
Wait, are you serious? Wait. Medi-O, are you serious? What's a Trekkie? Okay, so now I feel really old. So Medi-O, Trekkie is somebody who is a Star Trek in any format enthusiast. Now, I happen to be with someone who's been all the Star Treks enthusiast, and so I'm very familiar all of them. So it's just somebody who goes to like Trek. I've been to the Star Trek convention. I have. I've been to one. I've also been to a Comic-Con. But yeah, that's what it is. A Trekkie is one of those people. Yeah.
As much as it is a joke to even ponder the idea that Netanyahu would make a statement of Tucker Carlson is a couple of weeks away from a nuclear weapon, here's what we know with absolute certainty. As the empire continues to crumble and Israel continues to see its way out of existence, they are going to do a lot of dangerous, reprehensible, genocidal, and end of world type things, including, and I'm not kidding here, sicking the CIA against Tucker Carlson.
Today, I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on U.S. politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because I'm from here and I have a lot of kids. So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it, and that's provable. And moreover, it's my job to talk to everybody all the time and try and figure out what's happening around the world. That's literally what I do for a living, and I'm not going to stop doing that, nor should I don't think. I'm also an American. I can talk to anybody. I have no secrets to divulge. So legally, I think the case is ludicrous, and I doubt it'll even become a case. I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons, though, and they're pretty obvious. One is that countries tend to become more authoritarian in wartime. It's just the nature of war. People are dying. The stakes are high. People's emotions have risen to a very high point, to a crescendo. And so there's much less tolerance for any kind of dissent in the homeland. The irony, of course, is the United States fights wars on behalf of freedom, but there's always less of it here in our country during war. So that's a widely recognized phenomenon, and it's likely to happen now too. Another point to make that is worth knowing is that the USIC, the intelligence agency, spy on Americans. Now, you probably knew that, and it's been revealed a lot, including by Julian Assange and Ed Snowden, both of whom are threatened with death for revealing it, but everyone knows.
And we should never forget that that's what our own government does to our people.
I have a question. What was Tucker's position throughout the Julian Assange and or Edward Snowden, stories through
I'd have to go all the way back with the Snowden, because that goes all the way back to 2010. But he was
the fact that he was just interviewing Glenn Greenwald is definitely a sign that he has respect for the Snowden story in general, but sure. I don't know what his position was on that. Or was he on Assange? But
I know that he was always behind Assange. That much I know. Okay. Right. But as far as Snowden goes, again, I don't know if his position.
Peace, Justice for All says he supported him. Okay. Thank you. That was my question. Continue.
And I think, like I said, there is nobody who is truly more powerful and influential. The only person, especially in conservative politics, as a personality, sorry, Mark Levin, you don't amount to shit. Neither do you, Ben Shapiro.
That's once.
The only person, in terms of, let's say, the person who has the greatest influence on those over the age of 35, much as Charlie Kirk had the influence of the people under the age of 35. There is nobody who has a greater amount of influence than Tucker Carlson. So to suggest that he is a threat in the same vein that somebody like Charlie Kirk was would be an understatement. So is it surprising that the Zionist brigade would sick the CIA after him? No. Why would it? They're going to spiral completely out of control. Remember, everything for the most part used to be done in the shadows. Now it's being done in full view of the public, and they do not care. They don't care who sees it. They don't care who knows about it. This is where we are.
Okay, so if he was supportive, but everyone's coming and saying he was definitely supportive of both of them, which is good to know. So at least I can know now that in the realm of the concept of free speech and expression, that he is, he's consistent.
But it's probably a little more widespread than most people understand. And it's outrageous. There's no justification for your government, which you own, you're a shareholder in it, you pay for it, to be violating your privacy like this. But it happens all the time. And in fact, one of the reasons that CIA or people within CIA, just to be clear, it's a huge, sprawling, disconnected agency. What it does in a specific case doesn't represent what everybody in the building thinks, but there are some people who are mad at me for my views about Israel. And they have some latitude. And one of the reasons they pass on criminal complaints, in effect, to law enforcement is to justify warrants for spying on Americans. So that is an absolutely real thing. But the main reason they do it is to leak the existence of the investigation, such as it is, to the media, and then humiliate and terrify the subjects of this op. And that's, of course, happened to me repeatedly, many times, including in famously 2021 when I was still at Fox News and trying to set up an interview with Vladimir Putin.
Pause it. Okay, Tony D. Rocklever wants to know what balkanize means. So what he's referring to is the Balkan states, okay? And the Balkan area, which is, I don't know if you call it like Eastern Europe. I'm not sure what you call it. I mean, you're talking about Bosnia, Serbia, Yugoslavia, Herzegovina, and that area in there. And when we all get involved in stuff, when you balkanize it, is you're breaking it up into a whole bunch of little things that are more manageable and controllable by empire. So instead of Iran being its own nation state, our intent would be to go in there and break it up like we just did with Syria, like we've done with Libya, and make it so it is so like unstable, and there are so many different groups and militia and fighting, and it gets broken into different terrains and pieces and nations, and that way they don't have any unity and we can control the situation. So balkanize means to break up and divide in the same way that we did to the Balkan states. Okay, so that's hi Lila, that's my best explanation, and if I mispronounced any of the Balkan states, I'm sorry.
Kind of like the Soviet Union. It's harder to control it when it's a whole bunch of nations working in concert versus individual ones that you can control through NATO. Just saying.
The NSA, I heard from someone there, had grabbed my text messages with an American citizen and had leaked them to news outlets. Those texts were basically my attempts to set up an interview with the foreign head of state, and they leaked them to the New York Times in order to stop the interview, which they successfully did, by the way. And they admitted that they were spying on me. This is not a fantasy. It actually happened. They did it again 2 years later. My second attempt to get a Putin interview, I managed to get it anyway, and they've done it since. And so when you get a call from a reporter who knows the contents of your texts, it's pretty clear something's going on. None of this, in my judgment, as of right now, is a huge threat to me. So I'm not making this video to complain about it or whine or ask you to send me money because I'm under attack. I'm saying it because it's true, and you should know what your own government is doing, and you should know what the stakes are. And you should know that a lot of what happens in this country that affects outcomes happens behind the scenes. Some of it is legal, some of it is not, including what I'm describing now. But it has an effect. And the intel agencies, again, not everyone in the intel agencies, because there are decent, hardworking Americans who work in the intel agencies are Americans, just like there are decent, hardworking Americans who work at the DMV. But there are also people with agendas and grudges and no sense of restraint who are happy to misuse the power they have granted them by our elaborate secrecy laws to hurt fellow Americans for ideological reasons. That is entirely real. That's the story of Russiagate. And it's likely that things like that will begin to happen at greater scale now. So you should just know that going forward. Thanks.
I don't think it's going to have the same effect.
Okay. So wait, let me get this right. So mine runs, it's saying I'm confusing. Okay, you're right. The Balkans are not Eastern Europe. It's all right. I'm confusing the former Yugoslavia with Balkans. So the Balkans are Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia. Is that the Balkans? And I'm getting because I know I can see it in my head. I got the names confused. My point being, when we say Balkanize, it's to break things up. Baltics and Balkans. Okay, so I did that too. All right, sorry about that, people. I do know the location in which I'm thinking of are the ones that are right up next to Russia, and that's Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. That's what we're talking about, right? Okay, sorry, people. I know that I just knew that he meant that it meant breaking up the territory and creating a situation that makes it less governable and less for the people there. Oh, so then why are people confusing me? Stop confusing me. Jesus.
Don't take the Lord's name in
confusing
vain.
me.
Don't take the Lord's name in vain. I'm telling the warden.
Here's the thing I know about Jesus is he wouldn't, that's not one of the rules. That was one of the rules.
Seems like all these agencies hate Americans. Guess what? Your government does hate you.
So I was right. The Balkans are the countries. So I was right. Why are you all people messing me up? So the Balkans is Serbia, Bosnia, Croatia. It's that area, correct?
Can you stay on task, please?
Jesus, I can't because I hate being stupid about geography. Sorry.
Kazakhstan. Find that on the map. It's actually pretty big.
I know where Kazakhstan is. I know where all the stands are. I do sometimes get Turkmenistan and Tajikistan conflated. But I got to tell you, like, if you guys, I am pretty geographically bright. Like, I'm pretty good. Like, I do get things confused, but I know where the things are. I just get the words sometimes mixed up. But I am very aware that there are many different ethnicities, religions, and groups and languages within the Balkans, whether that's the area, if I were thinking it was Lithuania, or the area where there's Croatia.
We should just be clear that Tucker's concluding point, which made a lot of sense, is the whole concept of Russiagate and what that represented. The great thing about how we've evolved is that to even attempt to do something like that again would not work because the trust is gone. I don't even know how much trust was there to begin with, but time and time again, it was shown that the liberal class is the most trustworthy of the institutions. But
how many stands are there?
Jen, could we please?
Okay, sorry.
To fully understand and grasp how much worse this is going to get, and to bring the whole conversation tonight to a conclusion, you know, you've been saying that a lot of American soldiers are now dead, and we don't even know about it because the complete media blackout between us and Israel has gone to such, and it's gone into such overdrive that you can't even get anything from overseas here. The only information we're getting is that there are actual mutinies taking place within the ranks of the US military, that these soldiers do not want to fight this.
Nope.
They're trying to figure out what the hell are we supposed to do? How do we get out of this? Because we're going to get killed. This isn't the only, like I said, and I don't even know if I mentioned this at the top, but the only logical reason Trump is sending 5,000 troops over there is because they have this half-baked idea that they're going to put troops on the ground to open up the Strait of Hormuz. That is not going to work. It's not going to work.
And here's the thing. They know it. They know it. They know it's not going to work. And now, because of where we are in terms of like connection and social media, the serving people in the military know it too. They know. The people that are like your mid-level people in the military that have to like command their people to go do stuff. Yes, Miami is part of Greater Israel. Like those people, for example, and I know we've had this talk with Matt Ho before, about one of the times when he was serving, and he's overseeing all these people that are under him, all these, Marines that are under him. And there are people at those levels that are just way more informed, aware than I think in past conflicts that we've had based on where we are in terms of social media. And so, yes, I've been saying this for a while with every person we've had on the show. I've been asking them, all the veterans, I am noticing a huge rift in active duty and veterans, people on so many issues. Like it really seems like the same rift that's happening in the Republican Party is happening within the military.
Yeah. Keep your eyes and ears open at all times, ladies and gentlemen, and stick to the program. If you've enjoyed this conversation this evening, which we hope you have, please consider going to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a financial supporter of our small but mighty yet still growing channel.
You can join for free too.
Also join for free as well. We're closing in on 115,000 subscribers as we speak. We want to give a big shout out to our supporters of this evening. To Magnanimous 8659. I'm digging that beard, brother. That's one hell of an impressive beard. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Really appreciate you being here. JB, good to see you, pal. Thank you for the $2. This is clearly a reverse engineered operation. I think you might be onto something. Mark J with the $5. Thank you, Peter and Jen. Thank you, Mark. Good to see you, pal. Citizen Pendejo with the 50 pesos. Say Candace is right, Pete. Zios come for Tucker and we ride at sunset. Jen, Easterners moved to ISRA seduced by endless U.S. aid.
Correct.
To unleash racism on Browns both?
Correct. That is true. It's the concept where the Zionists worked hand in hand with the colonists, the white supremacists, to have our outpost, our grasp in West Asia. And very much so, we were not going to, and when I say we, I don't mean we, I mean Western, white, France, UK, Sykes-Picot Agreement, everything post-World War I, when they divided up the area, there was no way that they were going to let all the brown people have that much control of one space. So it all got broken up. And that was the beginning of when the Zionists started relocating into the area. So it is very connected with the Zios moving in and white supremacy.
Jim Talop with the $5 super sticker. Always appreciate you, brother. Media La Grand Sur. Thank you for the €5. Biden arrives in hell. Oh, Bibi arrives in hell, looks around and says to Lucifer, this place was promised to us a long time ago. Yeah, wherever he's going, it ain't going to be good. Citizen Pendejo with the 20 pesos. How come America First fails to see Kelly is Zio as F? I wouldn't even say necessarily that Megyn Kelly is a Zio. I just think she's a snake and a chameleon, and she'll do whatever she has to do to survive in the wild.
You're so wrong, Peter. She is not a chameleon. She's a megalodon. Okay. The megalodon's habitat is bottom feeder diet parasites off of Trump's taint. Weight 120 pounds of dense silicone plus 3 pounds of blonde polyester fiber. Behavior easily excitable by blood in the water, but only capable of feeding off of other predators' prey. So,
Touche.
Yeah.
A.E. Durham. I like the profile picture. Thank you for the $10 super sticker. Appreciate you being here, pal. Uncommon Magic with the $2. Good thing Prejean didn't bring up Epstein. Could have. Citizen Pendejo with the 20 pesos. I moved for Carrie to be anointed as our new pope. I wouldn't go that far, but she's definitely doing a good job. Zaina, thank you for the $5. True about indoctrination, Jen. Cultism, supremacy, propaganda all tie in as tools of control.
Yep.
And one more time with the $5. BTH, but to be honest, meant to also make clear the U.S. Israel does not support Iranian liberty. They want to balkanize, further destabilize, and keep them weak so they can steal all their resources. Alex Godmittens with the $5. Are there Jews in the IDF and in the modern state of Israel, or are they only Zionists?
Okay, so I think you maybe have a little bit of confusion. And I answered him in the chat, but so most Israelis are Jewish, if not all Israelis. There are Palestinians. There's technically 20% of Israelis are Palestinians that are allowed. They keep it at 20% within the 40. They call them the 48 within the confines of the state of Israel. But yeah, so people that serve in the IDF are Jewish because that's who lives there. But it's because that they're Zionists. It's because they're fighting for the Zio state. They're not fighting for Judaism. They're not fighting on behalf of Jews. They happen to be Jewish, but they're fighting for white supremacy in West Asia. They're not fighting on behalf of Jewish people. So they are Zionists.
The franchisee with the $10. It's just been too long since I've given to you guys and love this channel, so keep it going. Appreciate you.
Thank you, franchise.
Appreciate you very much. And finally, Alex Godmittens with the $2. May God bless you, Jen and Peter, and to you, my friend. So once again, if you guys have enjoyed this stream, which we hope you have, make sure that you've smashed that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure
that's a good point. Public domain. Sorry, that's a good point. What percentage of that are in jail? I'm not even including those people, but yeah.
Jen, we have a special guest coming on Thursday. Who's joining us?
I believe we're having Craig Mokhiber on our show, which is very exciting to me. I've been a fan of his for a very long time. I've been wanting to talk to him for like few years.
We've been trying to get him.
I'm going to have to go back and look at all the reasons that I've wanted to talk to him, because I'll be watching him doing an interview on something and I'm like, oh my God, I want to talk with him about that. And so now it's finally happening on Thursday. So I'm going to have a few things. I'm very excited about this.
Our special guest for the evening was supposed to be Zach Faust. Unfortunately, he's under the weather, but he will be on soon. So make sure that you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you share the stream. Hope you loved it.
And yes, cheers to Rachel, who has been working as like Captain Ahab on her great white whale, which was Craig Mokhiber. There is that. So
well done, sis. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We'll see you Thursday. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Night, guys.